What happens in this house, part 8. Okay, y'all, so I thought I was done on the last video, but then after I finished, I remembered that I forgot to mention, one of the major driving forces behind me even doing this. Um, and I have to include things that other people told me. Now, all of this stuff is alleged, and I'm saying that because, a lot of you know just how litigious my father is. So this isn't anything that I've experienced firsthand, but um, for the past couple of years, I have been, sharing the email that I wrote to my mother with other family members, and some of them have told me some rather disturbing things about him. And I'm just going to share some of the things that they've said to me. So my sister would say all the time, like, I just have the feeling that we not the only ones. Like, I know we not the only ones that he's done this to. And she is correct. So I talked to one family member, and they told me that he was accused of doing the same thing he did to me and my sister to an older cousin of mine. And that cousin is no longer alive. Um, I have another cousin who told me that just a few years ago, maybe 3, maybe 4 years ago, he was talking about inappropriate things about him, about his intimate life with her. And she was like, who does that? What kind of uncle talks about that type of stuff with his niece? So there was that. Um, and then um, there's the matter of my younger brother, whom I have suspicions he may also have experienced the same thing that me and my sister have allegedly. So I have to tell y'all this story. So back in 2021, when I was pregnant, I remember my father calling me one day and telling me that he got in a fight with one of my uncles. And he said the reason that they got into a fight is because my uncle called him, a PDF, a predator. And at the moment, um, no, not at the moment, before I go into that part. And the reason my uncle called him that is because apparently he said that my youngest brother went to our aunt and he told her about what my father was doing to him, and abusing him the same way that my sister and I were abused. And at the moment, I didn't really pay it much mind because of who it was that was saying that. And I never really took anything he said seriously. But after I came back home and I ruminate a lot, and I was just thinking about stuff, and I started remembering a lot of things that I had forgotten, especially since I very rarely smoke anymore. So, like, stuff is starting to come back to me, and I started remembering conversations that my father had where he told me that he was curious about, what intimacy with a man was like. And he said that didn't really want to try it, but he was just, just curious about, what would make somebody want to do that. And I always found it odd that he would tell me stuff like that. But I do remember him saying several times that, sometimes he would wonder about if he could ever do something like that. So I started piecing that together with what he told me happened back in 2021. And then it seemed like every time I spoke to a member of my family, they're telling me about how my parents are keeping my little brother isolated. They're not letting him go to Sharonton, um, or they're not letting him go out and do different activities. I even had a cousin who wanted to let him stay at her house for a few days, and he called my uncle and told my uncle about all kinds of maladaptive behaviors that my brother engages in, and it made my uncle not want to let him stay over, so he wouldn't let my cousin come pick him up so he could stay at the house. And when I put all this together, it sure does seem like they're trying to keep my brother isolated because he's being abused also, and they don't want him to be able to get the help that he needs. And that is another major driving factor behind um why I'm even doing all these videos, because I'm not just thinking about myself. I really am concerned for my brother, and I don't really know what to do about this situation. And I'm hoping maybe some way, somehow, that me making these videos can help him stop experiencing what's going on, um, allegedly. So yeah, this is the last video for real. Thank you to everybody who reached out to me and offered your love and your support. I really appreciate it. I wasn't really expecting that. I went into this actually with no expectations, but I was more prepared for negative feedback instead of all the warmth and the love that I've been shown. So thank you to everybody who's reaching out. And once again, if you're experiencing something like this and you see this story, I really do hope that it inspires you to not sit in silence and to just take it and to do whatever you can to either get away or to get help and to not hide. And I want you to know that you shouldn't be ashamed of what's happened to you. You shouldn't feel guilty. The person who should feel shame and guilt are the people who are harming you. That should be their burden to carry, not yours. So don't do like I did and hold these secrets in for so long. These people only have the power that you give them, the power that you allow them to have. So please, if something's happening, speak up and try your best to get some help so somebody can help you put an end to it. All right, so that's all. Thank you for watching, and yeah.